Well, there are still two contenders in the race after the New Hampshire primary. Donald Trump defeating Nikki Hayley easily and moving one big step closer to becoming the Republican Party's nominee. His victory in the state made history. Before now, no Republican candidate had won both the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary in an open campaign since 1976. So for a closer look this morning at what it means, we are joined by Nelson Wiseman, Professor Emeritus for the Department of Political Science at the University of Toronto. Haven't spoken in a while. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
So Trump won the primary, but what do the numbers actually look like?
Well, he won quite significantly. I mean, he got over half the vote, a double-digit lead over Hayley, about 11%. I should say that still about 8 or 9% of the vote hasn't been counted, but it's clear, Trump won. And the results were quite similar in Iowa. I mean, Trump got 51% there, and I think he got 54% here. Trump did much better than he did in 2016. In fact, he lost Iowa in 2016. He won in New Hampshire. What's interesting is they're two very different states, but both of them together don't make up that much of the United States. But the dynamic of the process in the U.S. of how you select a candidate to be on the ballot in the final election is skewed in favor of these very unrepresentative small states because there's now a certain momentum.
Right.
Trump is riding that wave.
Let's talk a little bit about that, Nelson. What does it say? What do the numbers say about the potential path back to the White House? Because it's a very different system than up here in Canada.
Very, very different. There's some dissonance, some inconsistency between what we've seen in Iowa and New Hampshire and what the national polls are showing. In Iowa and New Hampshire, Trump is in a commanding lead. In the national polls, he's actually leading as well, but not nearly by as much. And that's puzzling because Trump doesn't do as well among independents and in states that aren't like Iowa or New Hampshire, in states like California, Colorado, New York, Illinois, big states with a lot of population, although Trump does well in places like Texas and Florida, which also have big populations. So what may happen in a final election is a candidate who wins the most votes doesn't become president. That can happen in Canada as well. And that's essentially what happened in 2016. But Trump is riding high. He's going to get the Republican nomination. He wanted to do it very early because of his mounting legal problems, although on that front, he's also succeeding.
Right. Because
his lawyers are being successful in postponing trials. Now, the only chance, and it's very, very slim, that Nikki Hayley has, is to win in her own state, where I am right now. And that is in the South Carolina primary. But the polls here show that Trump is ahead as well. And he has the support of one of the senators from South Carolina, Senator Tim Scott, that she herself had appointed. So it doesn't look good for Hayley. I'd say this is sort of her last gasp.
Right.
Like it was for DeSantis in New Hampshire.
Well, when you look globally, you sort of are starting to get that sense as well. When you take a look outside the United States, you have Ukraine's President Zelensky already asking for a meeting with Donald Trump. You have our Prime Minister at the Liberal retreat yesterday talking about, what a Canada looks like, United Front Canada looks like in the possibility of a Trump White House. It's like people are already assuming the outcome before the U.S. has even voted.
Yes, I wouldn't assume the outcome, although Biden isn't the strongest candidate the Democrats can have. But on the other hand, you do have to prepare. One of the differences between Trudeau and Trump is that they don't care for each other. They intensely dislike each other. The difference, however, is Trump doesn't care. Trudeau has to care. Our economy is tethered to the United States. Their economy is Canada is important, but not nearly as significant as other regions, China and the EU. So we really have to care.
And that is a point that we will dig into as we move further along and closer to the U.S. vote in November. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.